The first checker flag of the 2023 season has fallen, and with that, plethora of news has decided to just come out of the woodworks. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here on this episode of Inside Lines. Hope y'all are having a wonderful day. Let's first start off with the TV ratings from the Clash at the Coliseum. And it is an interesting one to talk about. Adams reported this. Fox Sports earned a 2.01 rating and 3.647 million viewers for Sunday's second edition of the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum, down 15% from the inaugural edition, which drew a 2.32 rating and 4.283 million. The race was the second most watched sports event of the weekend after the Pro Bowl, which got 6.157 million. The last time a Clash had that or higher was in 2012. Now, okay, there's a lot of stuff to go off of. Very much at face value on the surface level, it seems as though it's an absolute failure. However, there are some things that may not tell the full story. Michael Movihill, who is an expert at Fox Sports and deals with the TV ratings and stuff like that, he posted this on Twitter. It says that the viewership for the first full quarter hour of the Clash was identical to last year at 3.9 million. Certainly there were a lot of cautions in the interior of the race, but interest in this event is obviously real. And that's one thing I think we need to mention is two big things. Number one, the race was later at night. It was at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, was the main event. And it ended at, I think, 11 or even midnight on a Sunday night. Not surprising, not many fans are going to tune in at that time, especially, with Monday being a school/work day compared to last year when it basically ended at 8. It ended around late afternoon or just early nighttime for the people on the East Coast. So there were still a lot more people that were able to tune in last year. Another reason that we need to consider is, again, when it comes with the time slot, it went 40 minutes, nearly an hour past its original scheduled window. So you have to consider that with the amount of cautions that took place. Again, there was a point in time where I think for 5 green flag laps, we were under caution for more than half an hour. I won't be surprised if that caused a lot of viewers to tune out due to the amount of cautions and how long the race was getting. Remember, there was no caution laps in this race. And also have to consider the fact that this took place, unlike last year, this race was held at the same time, at the same day as the Grammys, which drew in more than 12 million viewers. So, okay, was this a failure? I can't say it was. Again, when you look at, yes, ratings were down, but there's a lot of things that don't add up to last year. Again, completely different of a time slot, more competition. And the fact that it apparently was about even to the rating it was, and the fact that it was about even to the rating it was last year does tend to sway the idea that there was still a lot of hype around this event. You could argue that it would have been down regardless due to the amount of people that attended the race was lower than last year. But again, I think when it comes to TV ratings, there's a lot more that goes into it than just seeing face value down 15%. It is still the most watched Clash event outside of last year since 2015, 2016. So still a lot of hype around it, and definitely more than likely NASCAR will return to LA since they have a 3-year contract. And unless something major happens, NASCAR is going to return to the Coliseum in 2024. I can say as a fan that attended the race, I absolutely loved it. And I want NASCAR to return to LA because I thought it was awesome. But yeah, the racing needs to be cleaned up a lot more if we want to put on a better show than what took place this year. It was way more entertaining, but way too chaotic. Next up, we got some Daytona 500 news. Confirmed earlier today, Conor Daly will be driving the Money Team Racing's number 50 Camaro ZL1 in the 2023 Daytona 500. He will try to race his way in at Thursday's dual races. Now, Conor Daly has driven for the team last fall at a race at the Charlotte Roval, so this isn't his first time in a NASCAR Cup car, but still, this will be his first time competing in the Daytona 500, which will open up the slots to now 6 drivers, 6 open slots. So we know at least 2 drivers will go home after Thursday's dual races. Here's a look at the drivers that will be competing. You have Chandler Smith for Colleague Racing in the number 13 car, 5-time Truck Series winner. Then you got Zane Smith, the 2022 Truck Series champion in the 36 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Conor Daly, as I mentioned, the 50 car for the Money Team Racing. Austin Hill, the number 62 car for Beard Motorsports, a 2-time Xfinity Series winner. Travis Pastrana, the 4-time Rally America champion, the number 67 Toyota for 2311 Racing. And Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time Cup Series champion, makes his return to NASCAR in the 84 Legacy Motor Club Camaro. And speaking of Travis Pastrana, obviously we know that this will be the first time he will compete at Daytona in a stock car. And the fact that he has very limited practice to get adjusted for Sunday's race, or at the very least for Thursday's dual races, he announced that he'll be competing in the season opening Craftsman Truck Series race at Daytona in the Chevrolet Silverado number 41 car for Nice Motorsports. Now, this isn't the first time. He has competed with Nice Motorsports a couple of years ago at Las Vegas, but again, this is a way to get more seat time in preparation for the Daytona 500, potentially that he'll be running in on Sunday. Another thing that Travis Pastrana's team has announced is his paint scheme for the Great American Race, and oh my god, is it horrible. Okay, plaid looks good on a lot of things, does not look good on a race car. At least Harvick's Busch number 4 car, plaid car, at least it looks somewhat nice. This is just disgusting. A blue top plaid car with black, gray, and white plaid on the side with a red number. Disgusting. I think this is in the running for worst paint scheme of the year. I'm sorry. But regardless, it is still cool to see, again, Travis compete in the Daytona 500. Again, I mean, look, this is a stacked lineup. Drivers with great talent coming from completely different disciplines of racing, with Travis Pastrana in rally, Jimmy Johnson, 7-time Cup champion, Austin Hill, Chandler Smith, proving trucks and Xfinity Series winners. You got Zane Smith, a Truck Series champion, and Conor Daly, an IndyCar driver. Tons of different drivers from completely different backgrounds, disciplines of racing. Thursday's dual races is going to be awesome to watch. And speaking of Zane Smith, he had some news to share earlier this week that he will not only compete in the Daytona 500, he'll also compete in 5 other Cup Series races. The only issue is that he's replacing Todd Gilliland. Yes, that is right. The 38 car will be occupied by Zane Smith in at least 5 Cup Series races. The spring race at Phoenix, the spring race at Talladega, the Charlotte Roval, the Coca-Cola 600, the race at Texas in the fall, as well as Sonoma. So make that 6 races, but still, yeah. Why are you doing this, front row? Because it seems as though that we found out the same time Todd Gilliland found out, or at least around the same time, because Todd Gilliland posted this on his Twitter saying, quote, "As you guys have heard, I won't be full-time in the 38 this year. It was a shock when they told me and I'm disappointed. We're working really hard to still be behind the wheel for the races I will be missing and planning on putting our best foot forward all season." Yeah, okay. Now, Row Motorsports had to give an explanation, and they did on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. The general manager said this.
Is this, as you said, primarily a dollar and cents decision, or is there also an indication of for lack of a better term, a lack of confidence in Todd at this juncture?
Definitely not a lack of confidence in Todd, without a doubt. It didn't have anything to do with Todd or Todd's performance. It was more just in trying to put together the best program for Ambetter and WellCare. They're a really good sponsor to have in our program. And if there was a negative with trying to put this together, it was, asking Todd to come out of the seat for those races this year. And that was a tough pill for him to swallow. But he kind of handled it like a pro, and he's been 100% engaged and on board and working great with the new crew chief, Ryan Virginie. I think it was just the circumstances, and solely especially with Zane having that desire to run some Cup races next year and just kind of keep him in the Truck Series for another year, it almost felt like he might be stalling his progression. And I think in 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if he feels like he's ready to take it on full time. And it's just a good opportunity to get Zane some of that seat time that he wants to do and be able to measure kind of how he stacks up outside of just the one race that he did last year against the Cup competition.
Had nothing to do with performance. Yeah, right. What other reason is there? Okay, for sponsorship. You said it's, could it be sponsorship? Okay. Well, you have the 36 car. Why couldn't you just use that car? Why are you using the 38 car that's occupied by Gilliland? Here's the issue with Row Motorsports. Ever since David Reagan retired in 2019, they've always had every year a brand new driver. 2020 was John Hunter Nemechek, 21 was Anthony Alfredo, last year was Gilliland. Why is it that every single year Front Row needs to make a change? If you have a young driver that may or may not have been rushed up to Cup, you've got to let him nurture a little bit. Like give him at least 2 seasons to really figure it out. You can't just expect him to at Front Row. You can't expect him to go in there and start competing in the top 5, top 10 like that, or beat Michael McDowell. You cannot expect that. You have to use that new driver as a way to say, hey, Michael McDowell, nurture this guy, help build him up. I know that they're saying that Zane Smith is more likely going to be the future of Front Row Motorsports, but they kind of said the same thing with Todd Gilliland. I mean, he was really good in the Truck Series a few years ago when he was competing full time, but the Championship 4 or the Round of 8, I should say, just went against his way in every single way, shape, or form. But he had a really good season. Goes to the Cup Series. Yeah, you could say he was rushed up, but still, you have to give him some time to perform. Give him some time to nurture. You can't just throw him in for 1 season and then dip like that. And don't get me wrong, I love that Zane Smith is getting this opportunity. I think Zane Smith is a great talent. I really do like him, but not at the expense of Todd Gilliland. They did him so dirty. So dirty. And if you look at his likes, you can tell that he is very, very pissed at Front Row's decision. And he is 100% reasonable. He has every right to be pissed at Front Row to do this right before the season began. And it's one thing to do it in December, but to do it a week or 2 before the Daytona 500 is just that's a low blow by Front Row Motorsports. And hopefully Gilliland will be able to find the 5-6 races that he won't be competing in so that he can complete a full season. And hopefully Gilliland will go to a team in 2024 that will actually care about him. And finally, we end off with the story that y'all are here for. Kyle Busch, 2-time Cup champion Kyle Busch, he got arrested in Mexico for leaving his gun in the airport. That's a real headline, guys. That is a real headline. It was first reported by the Cancun Sun, and because the title was so outrageous and they were the only ones reporting on it, of course, everyone assumed it was fake. It was fake news. I saw the article and I thought it was fake because I thought, there's no way. No, it's true. Kyle Busch really was arrested. According to the article, Kyle was caught with a .38 caliber handgun and hollow tip ammunition in his luggage at Cancun Airport. He was quickly arrested following the discovery and eventually sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. When Kyle was at the airport, private security officials became suspicious and alerted the National Guard of the possibility that he had a firearm. Upon searching, it was found that there was in fact an unlicensed firearm along with a magazine loaded with hollow point bullets, which are designed to cause more damage. The National Guard arrested Busch when the weapon and ammunition were discovered. According to reports, following the arrest, an investigation was opened and the arrest was found to be a legitimate arrest. 2 days after the arrest, a federal public ministry agent presented Kyle Busch to a judge and the judge issued a sentence. Busch was fined more than 27,000 pesos, which equates to $1,100, and like I said, was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, although it is unclear exactly where that prison sentence will be carried out. Now, NASCAR has a policy. Any driver or anybody that is in NASCAR is arrested, they have to let NASCAR know within 72 hours of that arrest. Busch did, therefore he won't suffer any punishment from NASCAR themselves, just the Mexican law. Now, what's interesting is that when that only article from the Cancun Sun came out, Busch himself posted a response. It basically repeats some of the points I made earlier, but again, said that his handgun was flagged during a routine screening at the airport. He has a valid concealed carry permit from his local authority and adheres to all handgun laws, but made a mistake forgetting it was in his bag. He apologizes for the mistakes and appreciates the respect shown by all parties. As he resolved the matter, him and his family consider this issue closed. Now, okay, there's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say about this, including me. First of all, I think we need to consider something. Go back to last year. Some point, I believe it was in the summer of last year, Busch and his family was involved in a shooting at Mall of the America that took place there. Now, Kyle and his family weren't they weren't injured or anything like that, but they were in the mall when the shooting happened. I won't be surprised if Kyle was traumatized, rightfully so, traumatized from that incident and wanted to pack some heat in order to protect himself and his family. That's perfectly reasonable, perfectly understandable. Now, I don't own a gun, but can someone fill me in on this? How do you leave it in your bag? Not only that, how do you forget it's in your bag? I understand that Kyle more likely flies private, so when he went to Cancun, probably have to go through security, but still, when you're going to another country, you don't know how their gun laws work. I don't know. Someone's got to explain this to me. I would assume that if you have a gun, it's best to know where your gun is and not forgetting it, especially in Mexico. What? I'm just saying right now, what the hell happened to Kyle Busch? My man went from the Candy Man to the Kush Man to now the Clint Eastwood. Oh my God, we're not even 3 months into 2023 and already this is the craziest story this year. At this rate, if this is the level of news we're going to get from NASCAR drivers, strap in folks, this is going to be a long year. But yeah, outside of that, I really don't have much to say. I mean, I know people were talking about that 3.5 years imprisonment. How will that work out? I think more than likely it was either Kyle has to go to prison for 3.5 years or pay the fine. Obviously, since Kyle Busch was able to race in LA, he paid the fine. Now, I don't know if, let's say, NASCAR goes to Mexico for the Cup Series. I don't know how that will work, but I'm assuming that more than likely everything has been resolved. Case closed. Kyle Busch paid the fine. And yeah, that is the end of that story. But yeah, who would have had that on their bingo card in 2023? I mean, you hang out with Richard Childress in 3 months and you go from Candyman to this. Wow. But yeah, I don't know what else I can say about this incident. I mean, it's been resolved, I guess. It's not really much to go off of, but just very interesting story. And what a way to kick off NASCAR 2023 and with the gun charge. But that's going to be it for this episode of Inside Lines. What are your thoughts on any of the stories I talked about in this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Until next time, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. My name is JettMDK. See you next time.